AI is really changing once again the way how businesses run. We need to be the best in embedding this AI into the businesses of our customers.
For more than 50 years, SAP has been the backbone of global business. The company's ERP software works behind the scenes at a scale that's hard for most of us to comprehend. Yet if those systems stopped working tomorrow, supply chains would be in chaos, quarterly earnings wouldn't be released, and everyday digital experiences like shopping online would come to a halt altogether. When Christian Klein took the helm as the sole CEO of SAP in early 2020, he made headlines. And not just because he was only 39 years old at the time, but because he scrapped the German software company's outmoded 5-year plan and announced a bold pivot into the cloud. Investors were skeptical, and the company's shares plunged by 30%. Christian proved the naysayers wrong by executing a successful transformation that turned SAP into one of the biggest companies in Europe. Now, Christian's looking to the next chapter with another bold idea: embedding AI directly into business processes. As Morgan Stanley's head of European tech research, I've been covering SAP for nearly 3 decades. I wanted to learn more about how SAP's wunderkind CEO navigated such a dramatic transformation and how he's future-proofing SAP for what lies ahead. So I travelled to SAP headquarters in Waldorf, Germany, where I sat down with Christian, who is now known as one of the industry's most forward-thinking leaders. Hey, Christian, thank you very much for joining me here in Waldorf.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So maybe could you help us understand, if the SAP systems were to be turned off tomorrow, how would that impact business and maybe how would it impact us personally?
When I felt it the most, it was actually during COVID. When suddenly a lot of pharma companies reached out and said, hey, I need to get this ingredient for this medicine from this place to this place. Can your software help us when you're going to an online shop? There's a high likelihood that is also SAP behind. A lot of telcos doing their billing when you switch to pay-as-you-go or subscription. That's all SAP, and they want to do it real time. And that is what SAP does. It actually wants the world economy.
What were those decisions that you made when you first took over as CEO that really started to set the tone of your future leadership?
It was actually clear to me, also being the chief operating officer before, that with our customized on-premise ERP system inside SAP, there will be no cloud transformation. And I also learned that the way how we code, the way how we service, the way how we sell will be different in the future. So we needed a fundamental transformation. And that's why when I became later the CEO, it was crystal clear to me, hey, the profit is still looking good, the revenue is still looking good, but we cannot take this for granted.
Okay, so if we look back to that time, those are big decisions. What did you do, first of all, to get the board on board?
The board, I clearly explained to them from a customer perspective what has to change and while we have to also disrupt our core business. The core ERP are still very much on-prem. So I convinced the board about that. I said to them, watch out, that will not be nice in the financial market. Now, did I see the share price drop coming? Yes. Did I see it with this 30%? No.
I remember I was sat there following the company at that announcement as you described, and I think I was probably as shocked as you at the scale of the share price reaction.
I guess especially in times like these, you need to feel the backing. And I always felt the backing by my supervisory board, because when you don't have the backing in such a transformation, in my eyes, you can't manage it. The people here were heavily concerned, said, hey, are we now really yesterday's company or are we going to make it? And there where you have to stand with confidence on stage and give to people a clear plan and a clear roadmap. Now with AI, it's the next transformation coming, but you also then need to make always sure that you keep the balance between, okay, the people carry the company, they need to perform, so they need to be motivated. The second one is, of course, the customers need to see why is SAP going in that direction, and then the investors, what I said, is really about promising, but then also keep on delivering what you have promised.
You talked about some of the learnings you had from running the ERP internally and the need to move that to cloud. So you had some catch up to do. What enabled you to catch up and what sets SAP apart in that area today now?
5 years back, I clearly acknowledged, hey, look, the hyperscalers are very good in what they are doing. Customers anyway want to have choice. Let's be agnostic. But what differentiates SAP in the cloud? Our differentiation comes, look at our transformation, look at Microsoft transformation, look at the transformation of a BMW here more south. So we are not only putting an ERP to the cloud for BMW, we are thinking, okay, how will BMW run in the future? So while we are then moving to the cloud and want to run it as a SaaS application, we definitely also look into the process layer. And the second very important piece is data. Because when we talk about AI in the B2B world, yes, you have all of these great large language models, but you also need business data. I mean, otherwise you will not deliver the high value what customers expect. So we are always doing both. We are looking into the business model, the business process, see what is good for the top line, what is good for the bottom line, how can we streamline those business processes, redesign them. The differentiating part which comes with SAP is the business process and the data layer.
How did you change that debate internally between buy versus build?
You always need to first look into what can you build, by when, how fast, and do you have the expertise, the domain, and the financial power to do so. And the second one is then partner. And the third one, if you feel this domain is so strategic, and also customers feel that should be SAP, then we acquire.
I mean, automation is also a big topic for investors and also generally. If we think about an SAP-powered workforce in the future, helped by automation, what does that look like in your mind?
When you are now an SAP customer and you are either you have commerce from SAP or you run your stores with SAP and you have your supply chain, then actually in the future, when there is actually someone coming, a shopper, into your store, I mean, first you talk to your iPad and then you get, the latest on what did this consumer actually buy the last time? Was there some social media click? So your actually employee has way more information about the consumer coming in, either be it online or be it on-site at the store. Second piece is, in the future, consumer A wants to have this trust. So it's not in the shop, but where is it? And how can I ship it in the evening so that I'm ready for meeting Adam in the evening and have this wonderful trust? And that is something, when I look at that, there are probably many people involved transacting with an SAP system. When you see there is an agent who actually is analyzing what has this consumer, what is the consumer interest, could be, offered to him. There is another agent and checking inventory, and there's another agent checking out the logistics. So probably, yes, you need a human being, looking into that, but not the 100 people you needed.
Could you take us forward? What does SAP over the next 5 years look like?
First, the software actually is super important. When you run, for example, procurement with SAP, who has the smartest agent for sourcing? Who has the smartest agent for automation of billing, etc.? And that is, of course, super important the next 5 years, that with every piece of software we sell, the first discussion will be, okay, what is the agentic AI doing for me? How can we automate? How can we change sourcing? How can we change workforce management when you buy SuccessFactors? Just saying, SuccessFactor helps you with putting a good workforce together to hire, to educate, to skill, that is not enough. You need to explain what is the AI, what is Joule doing for HR to really, have the best workforce in your industry. And that is true for all of our portfolio. So AI is really changing once again the way how businesses run in every part. And we need to be the best in embedding this AI into the businesses of our customers. Now that sounds easy. I can tell you, when you look into our customers' landscape, it's not all SAP. There are big data lakes, big issues around data quality and so on. And again, an LLM can screen a document, can make sure that you can make use of unstructured content. But where's the business data? You need to correlate it to your business. Otherwise, strategic workforce management, intelligent sourcing will not happen. You need the business data. You need it clean, you need it high quality. And that is, of course, something in the next 5 years that we will also not only work on AI, but also work on a super strong data platform with our customers.
How does Gen AI enable SAP to build products differently? How will those products look? And also, how does it change the way the employees work?
First, imagine how supply chain, how a bottler will do last mile delivery in 5 years from now. there's a lot of traffic. How can you bring delivery in time with the right temperature, to the place to be? And how can you load the trucks most effectively? And this is, what we are now reimagining. How will this work? And then we need to also then retrain and reskill our developers and say, okay, what does really now matter in the future to be world class with our AI? So it's less about spending your time on coding, but more about how to build a cohesive data layer, how to build really great AI modules, how to reimagine the business processes.
How do you future-proof SAP more generally for the next 5 years and beyond?
If in 5 years from now, not 70%, of the deals we are closing, it does include really to a large amount AI, then we are probably not successful, because this agentic AI layer will take over huge parts of the business processes we are running today. So that is for me really, really important. And then the second piece is, of course, industry by industry, really be the best in understanding, okay, you run all of these supply chains for us today. How is SAP the front runner when it comes to resilient supply chains, intelligent supply chains in the future? And that is what we are doing here now, but you need to engineer that. And that is something what is, of course, super important to also have SAP at the top in 5 years from now.
In your view, what could Europe do more to support, whether it's big tech companies like SAP or whether it's the startup community around Gen AI in Europe?
You need a framework where you can be competitive. And this is clearly something, AI, data regulation, there are big differences. And not only that we are here way more regulated, even worse is that we are differently regulated, because Brussels has a good idea on regulation, but still each member states also believe they have a good idea. And what comes up is you actually don't have a union. Our aspiration should be to form a union, to have regulation without too many gray zones, and use this as actually a competitive edge.
Let's imagine a world a little bit down the road where actually we can sit back and relax because Joule, the agent, is doing both our jobs for us.
Yeah.
Let's picture that. I'm going to be sitting on a beach with a margarita.
Yes.
What does that world hold for Christian Klein? Are you going to be living out your childhood dream, ski racing, or where are you going to be?
Yeah, imagine, here in this place, we are actually doing our earnings. You are sitting at the beach. I'm sitting at the mountains of Austria or Switzerland. And enjoy life. And there is an agent, presenting a result smart enough to answer all of your questions better. And you actually can just instruct the chatbot, hey, today grill Christian or the chatbot of Christian a little bit more on this topic. I would say absolutely possible. I still believe, nevertheless, honestly, that a human conversation. You leave every conversation, you have a gut feel, you feel the sentiment. Yeah, I'm not saying that AI can't measure that as well, but at the end there is still a piece left for an analyst, for an investor, for a CEO, for CFO, who is still, also where you need a human being, where you need the sentiment, feel the emotions in the room, to also then come up with a final judgment. Was this now good earnings or not so good earnings?
We need to keep that personal connection.
And honestly, human beings are also like that. I love these conversations. I enjoy it, and I guess this is who we are. We need that.
Look, this is a great conversation, Christian. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks a lot.